Shane, how we doing?
We're good.
Welcome,
We're
brother.
good. Glad
Uh,
to be
wel-
here.
yeah, welcome to the Intrinsic Podcast. I'm excited to have you on. We've had some conversations in the past. We're both former pro ball guys who have gone through our struggles. We came out the other side in a way, both very different type of stories. But man, we've had a couple conversations, and I find just you as a person so inspirational. So I'm very excited to have you on here today and dive into a great conversation here. So that being said, can you share with us a little bit about your earlier days? And I know you played 6-7 years in professional baseball. Can you
7 seasons.
yeah, can you walk us through that process for yourself?
Yeah. Well, what kind of I say got me there? But my dad was a tremendous athlete. He was a big guy. He had my frame, but a lot more muscles and a few more inches on me, a couple inches. But he was my inspiration from the athletic perspective growing up. He was out of high school with Mississippi's back of the year, senior year. Went to Southern Miss on a kicking scholarship. Went to Mississippi State, then a JUCO. Ended up at Southern Miss in Hattiesburg, University of Southern Mississippi. That's where I was born when he was 20 years old. Mom was 18, dad was 20. I got married early, and my very first memories in life are of being on the football field with him. They are vague memories of being out there. But he got done with college ball. He ended up signing a contract with the Colts as a kicker. Ironically, I signed the Baltimore Orioles. He signed the Baltimore Colts. He didn't want to play pro ball. So he came back home, went to work, but he still continued to lift weights, stay in shape. He got into slow pitch softball and traveled all across the country for the next decade or so of his life. It was playing softball. So I had a really great mentor from a perspective of here's how you approach athletics. Here's how you work at it. Here's how you're consistent. And he was an athlete and I was an athlete. So it kind of came natural, but I wasn't a big guy. I wasn't a football player. I wasn't a basketball player, but I wasn't a very good hitter, but I could throw a baseball across the horizon. And that was kind of my thing. And I was the youngest kid in my class. Out of 225 people in my graduating class, I was the youngest person. I started first grade when I was 5. I lagged behind everybody physically, just naturally. We're late to the party physically wise. The men are my family. And I'm the youngest. It was a double whammy for me. So I was forever trying to play catch up and trying to fit in. And I had I guess ADD now. Couldn't be still. I annoyed a lot of people and still do sometimes. But baseball was my thing. And, like any kid, you want to be like your dad and do stuff your dad did. So I was, my identity began to be built as a baseball player because that's really the only thing I was really good at, but also worked at it. And fortunate enough to leave high school and go to South Alabama on a piece of a scholarship. I was going to walk on Mississippi State, which is what every kid's dream was in Mississippi, to go play Mississippi State. They were just perennial SEC power back then. And got offered to play at South. I took that as opposed to the walk-on position. Spent 4 years at South. Got there in the fall of '86, weighed about 150 pounds soaking wet. And 4 years later and 30-something pounds later, I had one of the best fastballs in the country. Wasn't really sure where it was going, but when I turned it loose, it was coming, and that's what they wanted. And so that got me a position with the Orioles in the 7th round. And after 7 seasons and 2 elbow surgeries and spending half that 7 years in the DL, I decided it's time to turn the page and move on, and that's what I did. But I built that. That was my identity as a young man, was a baseball player. And I didn't realize until I left baseball, which is kind of a tough transition in a lot of areas. And some places I was ready to move on because my friends from the years past, my roommates in college, my guys I played with, they had wives and families and, cars and a small house. And like, I want some of that. And that part was welcome to turn the page and start pursuing those things. But I had no idea the hole that was going to be left inside of me when I lost my identity as a baseball player.
And I think that's important to stick on here for a moment, because baseball, unlike other professional sports, I'm very similar. I played 8 years with 4 surgeries on my arm, right? And so, and I was a high school pick, and so I had no college education. Did you go back to school after baseball?
Yeah, I finished.
Okay.
It took me 9 years to get my degree, but I was on the 10-year plan.
Okay, yeah. And so I went back as well, but I think, and I'd be really curious your thoughts here on this, because we play baseball. Baseball is not the football. It's not the
combat sport.
Yeah, not the combat, right? But we can play longer. So we get guys like myself and like yourself where baseball was our identity. It certainly was mine as well, like you're describing for yourself. But when we get done, if we don't make it to the major leagues, and even if we do, we get a cup of coffee, we're not making any money in the minor leagues. Nowadays, they're making a couple bucks, but it's nothing that's going to sustain ourselves throughout our life, right? So then we're left with that void where, just like you said, our buddies are getting married, they're buying their first home, they're starting their family, they've got a good job, assuming they've got a good job so they can start putting some money away. And now here we are, 27, 28, 30, 32 years old, thinking like, what now? What do I do with my life?
And we've got a 22-year-old mentality. We've matured some along the way, but that's the thing I realized about myself. When I got to be 28 years old, when I walked off, all the people that I was around that were my age, I didn't relate to them because they're in a whole different place in life than I was. I was still that 22-year-old kid, a 21-year-old kid. I'd matured some, obviously. Not like I should have, but my world was baseball. Kind of like sending a politician to Washington for a decade. They lose their reality. It's going to change a little bit. And so I really struggled there fitting in with people my age because we didn't have anything in common really. And so I found myself kind of gravitating the younger crowd that was in the transitory, I'm out of college, I've just got a job, I'm trying to build a life and figure out how to act. I didn't really realize I wasn't ready for that until it happened. And of course I didn't realize it until years down the road. I don't relate to these people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, our world opens up, we're playing with folks from all over Latin America, Dominican, Cuba, Puerto Rico, et cetera. And we gain perspective maybe, we're both you're more in the South. I'm more Midwestern, but still we're rather isolated in the way that we grow up as Americans. And then all of a sudden, poof, we see the world differently, I want to pause on that and come back here in a moment and then fast forward to some COVID years. Because throughout our conversations, you had mentioned during COVID, you were going through a few personal situations, and you recognized that you started drinking a little bit too much. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, it's COVID era was kind of a culmination of a lot of things. I'm 56 now, so I was in my early 50, 21. I was 51 or 2, somewhere in there. And trying to collect my thoughts here. We've been through in 2008 when the market got upended, we were heavily leveraged in real estate, over leveraged. And I didn't really realize how over-leveraged we were until, we hit the skids there. We made it through and came out the other side, but just took a beating in the process. During that time, my wife had gone back to school to finish her master's and ended up getting her PhD. So she was gone like 3 days a week up into the University of Alabama. We had 3 boys ranging in age from, 2 to 9, I guess. And I've got a good family support system, so that helped. But there was a lot of, the financial issues kind of took their toll. The years of dealing with those just wear a man down. And you go through life and you can look at your life, look forward, like, okay, I can see where if I keep doing this, and this, things will change down the road. And at some point you look at things and go, is this ever going to change? Or am I just stuck with this? And when COVID came along, it was kind of there were a lot of things. It wasn't like every aspect of my life was bad. There were a lot of aspects of my life that were great. I mean, I had got a good marriage, got healthy kids, got a support system, got a nice house to live in, got my health for the most part, got some aches and pains. But when COVID hit, my wife got sick with COVID and spent 16 days in the hospital. Was a step away from being on an event for several days. She almost died. I mean, she was really, we weren't sure she was going to come home. And so that was pretty tough pill to swallow. But somewhere around the back end of that, it was just, I started looking at some things in my life that can I change these things? And are they ever going to change? I'm just worn down. And, I just kind of started using alcohol more as a crutch than as a coping mechanism. Where instead of, hey, I had a great day at work or had a good day, or we're having a weekend football game, don't have a couple of drinks and kind of add to the experience, which is, I'm not anti-alcohol at all. But for me, it was definitely becoming, I just want to have a drink. And it wasn't like I was getting, plastered face down. My wife would have put up with that. And she would have stepped in long before that and go, hey, dude, what's going on here? we communicate. And but I did a good job of, I won't say hiding. I didn't really realize how much I was drinking until I really stopped and realized, okay, you're really excited about getting home. The high point of your day is let's go home and have a drink, because it basically everything that's on your mind. I battle depression a lot. I just do. My dad did. I do. And it's almost like an immediate temporary relief. It's like the sludge in your brain just goes away instantaneously. And that was kind of nice, because there's some days I'm just trying to get through the day, let alone, tomorrow, just like the weight of the world's on your shoulders. And it just kind of, I won't say snowballing, but it just became apparent to me that this is not, A, it's not how I want to live. B, it's not the direction I'm going is not the direction I want to keep on going. And really it really circled back to the point that, you're looking forward to coming home and having a drink every day, which I realize a lot of people do. And that's, but there were no lifestyle problems. But I had to be honest with myself and go, okay, if you don't do something about this, then you're playing with fire. And so I think in the last 3 or 4 years, I've stopped drinking probably 5 times. Twice, I will honestly say, because I was drinking too much, and it was beginning to impact my life from the perspective of my depression was just spiraling. Couldn't sleep at night because, you have 3 or 4 drinks, go to bed, and you don't sleep as well. And, getting older, your mind changes. And I've noticed I was struggling. This could be just totally age related, but there's a lot of pieces in the equation. I was just trivial nominal tasks I used to complete every day at work or anywhere else they were becoming a struggle. And I'm like, why is this so hard? Why this should be, I tell my wife, this should be easy. And I'm struggling to get this thing done or started or finished. And so I really started looking at myself, okay, what can I do to give myself the best chance at not doing damage to myself, so I can be the person I need to be, the person I want to be, and lead a productive life. And one variable in that equation was stop drinking. Don't just moderate it, just stop. Just stop, see what happens. And I think today's day 70 from I quit drinking Halloween, but there was another occasion I quit for like 5 months, and several on the way I quit for 3 or 4, but I'd always go back to it. It's like, okay, well, I'll have 1 candy bar today. Well, tomorrow you have 2. And then next week you have 6. And It's just kind of, then you fast forward 2 months later and you gain 14 pounds again. And, just apply it to any substance that you're introducing, from food to prescription meds to alcohol, over the counter stuff. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of, just a lot of things came together to kind of hit a tipping point. So I started looking at my life and, okay, I want to go home and have a drink in the afternoon, and relax. What part of my life is so bad that makes me want to do this? And how do I change those parts?
I think
what I do.
Well, I wanted to touch on that because you have something that I did not. I'm in recovery, and they always say, especially if you're having like a New Year's resolution, it's see if you can stop. If you even think that you may have a problem with alcohol or eating sugar or looking at porn or over purchasing, whatever. There's a lot of addictions, right? I mean, let's keep it to alcohol. But if you even think that you're starting to have a problem, can you stop? And I could not stop, right? And there's a difference when it gets a hold of you and your body needs it in order to function. And the casual aspect of drinking, on the golf course or at a barbecue, et cetera. But you had mentioned to me on a call that you never thought alcohol and addiction would ever be synonymous in your life. And then as you went through this, you gained some new perspective on, wow, maybe I could be.
Yeah. I think that's kind of a two-sided question or two-sided answer. I realized, one, yes, this could become a problem. But I think prior to that was just the naivety that, okay, that couldn't be a problem for me. I mean, we never know what's coming down the road. We never know what we're capable of, what we'll do in a certain situation. But I would look at, to back up a couple of steps to your point about, you said, I couldn't stop drinking. I've known a couple of alcoholics, and I've heard them flat out say, I can't stop drinking. I could not stop drinking. And I'd be like, stop drinking, dude. It's kind of like processed food. Just quit eating it. Quit bringing it in your house, first of all. Well, you can run the store and buy some more. So, there's that. But I've never been even close to the I can't part. Whenever I decided to stop, it was always, I just stopped. Was it hard? Yeah, the first few days it was pretty hard because I wanted to drink. I mean, I've never had the shakes or withdrawals, nothing like that. And I'm not looking down on people that do. I'm just saying that's where, on the other side of the spectrum, there's people like my wife who don't even think about alcohol, have never been a drinker. I mean, drank before, but have a glass of wine once in a blue moon. But by and large, they don't think about drinking like I don't think about going out to eat. It never crosses my mind. I don't battle that at all. But then there are people like you're talking about that just, you're playing with an absolute dragon if you let that thing out of the cage. And thankfully, I'm not there. But I realized several years ago that I could become addicted to alcohol if I didn't stop drinking and didn't stop at least going down the path I was going down, because I was becoming dependent on it. I mean, I really was. I mean, I kind of joke that say, they call it a fifth because on the fifth day it's gone. And I've had a lot of people laugh and go, "You make it last 5 days? That's pretty good." I mean, it's gone in a day for me. I'm like, I can't do that. But that fifth that used to last 5 days, which was, 2 or 3 drinks a night, 5 days in a row, fifth is gone, was lasting 3. And that's when it started getting my attention. So I quit drinking. I quit keeping I like bourbon. I quit keeping bourbon in the house probably about 3 years ago, just because I got tired of trying not to drink it. I didn't get falling down drunk, but it's like, just like I just wanted to go have a drink because I like it. And I sit around and watch TV with the wife or whoever. So I quit doing that, but it still was around. And so it did become obvious to me if I didn't address what I was doing, that I potentially could be getting myself into a problem that I might not want to find myself in. But I think looking back the other direction, we don't realize what we're capable of getting tied up with or dependent upon if you start playing with it.
Yeah.
And I started taking ADD meds, I don't know, a decade ago, off and on, just because it would help me focus. And the doctor was more than happy to prescribe some to me. He's like, "Yeah, we'll put you on something and try it." So he put me on starts with a C. It's not cortisol, Concerta, like a average dose. I don't really have foreign substances in my body because I don't eat good. I'm never not opposed to medication at all. But so anything I put in my body tends to give me a pretty heightened effect because I'm not used to it. So it took my Concerta the first morning, dude. I was off to the races and had a great day. Man, I'm just getting stuff done. I felt like I felt in my 20s, which was that's how I felt. I was always energetic, always just ready to go, always got in a good mood. And so I blew through that day, and that night I really couldn't go to sleep. Went to sleep about 11 o'clock, and woke up next morning at, I don't know, 5 or 6, whatever. Popped me a Concerta, off I go again. Blew through another day, this day too. Went to bed about midnight, just wasn't really sleepy. Next morning I woke up, popped a Concerta again. Off I went to the races again. This is day 3. About midnight the third day, I've slept like 8 hours. I'm laying there in bed, looking at the ceiling, just vibrating inside. And I remember as clear as a bell, my mind said, "This is what drugs are like. You can't live like this." And so I was like, this is great. This is fun, but this isn't normal. And the next day I didn't take it. Well, guess what happened? Off a cliff. Yeah. Just could not function. Just my brain was void of dopamine.
Yeah.
And I knew what dopamine was back then. But all the research I've done and reading, trying to figure out, why do I do the things I do? Why do I act the way that I do? Why do I respond the way I do? I'm forever trying to read about and learn about, lately depression and ADD and dopamine. And so, but little dopamine hits. But I didn't realize this stuff back then. I just see this pill made me feel great, but I can't live like this because this isn't normal. And so then that resulted in a period of me taking them on and off, which means you're flying high one day and you're in the gutter the next. And which all goes back to dependency, like what we're talking about, alcohol, medication, prescription medication. So there came a day, Eric, when I was out I had breakfast with my wife. We're in the Cracker Barrel parking lot, and I had to be across the bay in like an hour for a meeting. So I had a little bit of time to kill, and my brain is not working. It's just not functioning. I've been trying to quit these pills for several days, and I just couldn't put two thoughts together. And I remember sitting in my truck, and I got the bottle of pills out, and I popped with this. These are prescription meds. I'm not buying it off the street. This is prescription doctor recommended medication. I remember popping one of them, and I remember putting my head on the steering wheel like this and closing my eyes and going, 18 minutes, I'll be fine. And I'm sitting there, Well, then in the parking lot. I mean, grown ass man sitting in the parking lot waiting for his damn pill to kick in. And, and sure enough, I'm sitting there and I just put me on the steering wheel. And I want to say 16, 18 minutes later, it's like this rush just came over me. It's like this warm feeling. And I remember picking my head up and going, yes, now we can go. And off I went. But it was just, and I was fine. But it's that was the day that I realized you can't take these things. You might could take them. I did take them for years after that in spots. My depression would get so bad. It was like Terry Bradshaw said when he went to the doctor one time, talking about medication. The guy's like, I can't give you anything. And, I can't give you any more pills until then. He said, well, doc, can you just give me something to get me through the day? And I remember seeing that in an interview one time. And I was like, I get that. I totally get that. And the same thing could be said about alcohol or, whatever it is you're addicted to. I just, there were days I could come in from work, brain's not working. I just call it my brain's not working. My wife might say sometimes, how's your day? So my head's not working, which just means my brain's not working today. It's like there's cement in my brain. There's no dopamine in my head at all. And everything is a challenge down to almost breathing sometimes. But that was the day I woke up like I can't take these pills. And I hadn't had any since, I think March of last year. I got back on them for a couple of days. It was a smaller dose, different medication, but it was still prescription medication. But I took them one day and finally I'm like, I'm going to live my life without these things. I'm going to figure out how to live my life without taking medication, and I threw them in the garbage. And that was then. So I doubled down on get your exercise, get your sleep, eat right, don't drink so much, or don't drink. I'm not drinking much, but just don't drink. It's not don't do the things that are not helping you. And I still have my days, but I've made it since March of last year. With no ADD meds. I've made it since Halloween with no alcohol. And I've made it since Halloween with no processed food. So, just keep whittling away at the stuff that's not helping you. And that's the only chance you've got in this world. And unless you want to, lean on some substance, which in my opinion, like things that help you get off alcohol. There's drugs, I don't know what they're called, but, that help you not drink, not go through withdrawals.
Yeah.
I can't remember, there's stuff that helps you get off of heroin, whatever Narcan or whatever that stuff's called. A bridge drug or bridge help to get you there. But, my goal is to live just as clean a life as I can to give myself the best chance I can. And that just for me personally, I'm speaking for myself, means don't do X, Y, and Z. Even if everybody else is doing it, even if it's socially acceptable, even if it's all over the TV, don't do it. And I'm not telling y'all not to do it. But for me personally, that's where I'm at.
Well, you let's go inside of that for a minute. I want to go back to your baseball days here soon. And in the meantime, you have something in you that I did not have, that I had to learn. And so first of all, doctors love prescribing medication. You spend 2 or 3 minutes with your general practitioner, you walk out of there with the script, and it fundamentally changes us. That's where our system is so broken that way, where it's all reactionary. It's not getting to the root of what the issue may be, let's say, right? So, what would you say so when I was going through addiction, right there, I remember thinking to myself, like that moment you had on the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
I had, right now I can think of 3 moments where I asked myself rhetorical questions like, do you have a problem? Can you stop? And I chose to keep drinking. What would you say to somebody who's at these crossroads, right? Who might be having an issue? Like, how did you get through it? What was your first, I know you're asking yourself questions like, if there is a God out there, how can I improve my life? Because you said like, just stop doing it. But what did you take how did you start being actionable on the whole just stopping piece?
Well, it sounds simple to say I just did it, which is what I basically did, but that's also kind of how I work. My dad's mantra, MO was something he's doing, just do it. Just do it. What a man does. Well, that sounds great until it's you.
Plus when you're Yeah, and when you're in the throes of it, just do it, and you can do it. It seems like you don't know where to start. The person who's in that tornado doesn't know even where to start because it's so overwhelming.
You're right. It consumes you. Looking back at where I was at and where I went through, I think the first thing you need to realize that I would tell myself, if I could go back and look at myself, 10 years ago, I'd look at myself and go, dude, you're not alone here. This is not, we want to look at everybody else's life and think it's a tailgate party while ours is a dumpster fire. I did that for years. Like, okay, that family over there that our kids go to school with, they got a nice new house. They drive nice new cars. They got, a couple kids at school that cost just as much as my kids. They're paying for all that. They went on vacation. They're off the football game, on and on and on. And, comparison's a good way to steal your joy. But I was looking at all these other people's lives that look like they're normal. And I learned as time went by and I started being vulnerable and some of these people I'd get in touch with and have, men I'd have, deep conversations with from time to time because they would see me sharing stuff and they'd reach out to me. Or in conversation, it would come up, kind of open the door for a deeper, more personal conversation. And I would share my struggles and what I've been through, and they start sharing theirs. I have no idea. They've been through bankruptcy, they've been through divorces, they've been through rehab, they've been through alcoholism, they got toxic family members. I mean, just all the stuff we hear about. They all had. I never saw that part. Well, we don't advertise it. We don't run around and say, "Hey, I got this problem, that problem." But the thing I realized it really helped me, first of all, was realizing that I was not alone in my struggles. People struggle. The second thing I did that was helpful to me was I found people that I could look at that I had known for years that seemed to pretty much have their act together. They were reputable people, not whistle clean, just, good, solid individual. And again, I'm talking about men. And I just reached out to them. Hey, man, could I catch up with you for a conversation, cup of coffee? Sure. And I did. And we just had a man talk. I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with that. My father and I had a very tumultuous relationship. I'm going through these things and I'm dealing with this. From a faith perspective, I see these people that have had a strong faith for years. Didn't always have one necessarily. Some did, but some of them kind of, evolved like I did, like you have. How did you get there? But more importantly, how have you stayed there for all these years? And they start sharing that. So one, recognize that you're not alone. It's not just you. Secondly, find somebody that you look up to, that you trust, and go talk to them. Just go talk to them. You'd be amazed how many people will say, yeah, I'll talk to you, if you'll just reach out and talk to them. And the third thing that has started helping me was, and this is the biggest thing that ultimately was a progression, was giving God access to my life. Okay. I always knew who God was. I always believed, I've never not believed in God. I was raised in church. And I like to say I was a part-time hoodlum growing up. I wasn't a bad kid. I didn't drink a ton. Never done drug in my life. I was mischievous, ran the road, chased women, ball player. And so as I got older, I was always called back to my faith. I was always called back to, to the church, to faith, to Christ, to God. But it was still a part-time gig for me. It was still the bottom rung of the ladder. I'm in control of my life. And once I started realizing there were things I was not in control of, as God started dismantling this little kingdom I put together for myself piece by piece, that's when I realized that, okay, there's nothing in this world that's going to fix me. It's going to fix a hole inside of me. Another career won't, promotion won't, new truck won't, a hobby won't. There's one thing that will, that's God. So I started seeking and searching for him by talking to the people that I just mentioned that I kind of idolized and looked up to. But the 4 ways you can add God to your life, if someone's not a believer, like where do I start? 4 ways are, first and foremost is prayer. Just talk to God. Just like I'll be asking, like I talk to you. Talk to God in prayer. It's a hotline. Secondly is the Bible. Get in your Bible and just read it. And you'll see that all the stuff these people went through, these stories where God took ordinary people, that did extraordinary things with them, they weren't different than me and you. They just allowed God to work in their life. And here they are in the Bible, reading about 2,000 years later. The Bible's full of stories of people going through extraordinarily hard times, God making a way, making a path, growing their faith, and taking over their life willingly and put them in a different place. So prayer, the Bible. Third is go to church. And by church, I don't mean go to the building. I mean get involved with the people, which goes back to my second point again. Find someone that's got faith and go talk to them. They're not going to judge you. They want to help you. They want you to get better. But whether it's corporate worship on Sunday, small group, men's group, Sunday school, doesn't matter. Get involved with the people of the church. By all means, go to church on Sunday. Sit in the back row if you got to. Take notes. Write down what you hear. Fourth thing is your circumstances. One is prayer. Two is the Bible. Three is get involved in the church. And four, the big one for me was watch God work in your circumstances. Watch him change things in your life that you can't change. Watch him bring people into your life. Watch him make a way. Watch him connect the dots. Now, he might take you kicking and screaming from one part of your life to the next. But if you look back, the pieces of your life you give God access to, your finances, your health, your marriage, whatever the piece is, if you let him into that and you give him access to that part consistently, he will change it. And there'll be no denying what happens. So those are the four things right there. First of all, it's not just you. Second of all, find someone that you trust and can confide in and go talk to them. And third of all is give God access to your life. Prayer, the Bible, the church, watch your circumstances. Those are how, in my opinion, you overcome things that are bigger than you are, that are stronger than you are. That's just when you can't do it, ask God. When you can do it, ask God. And the thing that's helped me the last 3 years of my life is I try to pray consistently throughout my day. It's not a walk around, hands up, pray to the Lord. It's just when you swipe your debit card at the grocery store that says approved, say thank you. Thank you. When you go to bed in the morning, I'll literally will throw my legs on the floor. I get my parts lined up because I got a bad back and some bad hips and other bad stuff. And I stand up. Thank you, my legs work. I mean, just every single time I get out of bed in the morning time for years, I've done that. But just throughout your day, thank God for the things that come your way. When something is in front of you that you're nervous about, ask him to help you with it. Can't find any car keys. Where are my keys at? You may find them, you may not. But it's just incorporate him into your day and seek him. Jeremiah 29:11 is the verse everybody knows. For another plans to have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and something, give you hope in the future, not to harm you. I always mess it up when I try to quote it. That's the one everybody has on their posters, on their picture frames, that God's got a plan. And you got hope in the future. And I'm just waiting on God. Well, a lot of times God's waiting on you. But if you keep reading past verse 11 to 12 and 13, it says how you find that plan. You seek him wholeheartedly. Not kinda, not when it's convenient, not when you have no other options, wholeheartedly. And there's been several times in my life where I was literally wholeheartedly on my knees begging for some help. And I won't tell you about them now, but 3 specific times. And there was not a fiber in my body that wasn't begging for some help, just begging. And God showed up instantaneously. The next day, he addressed all 3 things I was dealing with. The next day, I've been carrying things around for a long time. The next day, he started working on it. And it was just amazing. Well, coincidence. You believe what you want to believe. I know what it was.
Yeah. What I hear out of that is action, community, and exploration.
Yeah.
Because I went to an all boys private Catholic high school, Moeller High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. King Griffey Jr. went there, Barry Larkin, a lot of well-known athletes. And I was forced to get involved with Catholicism, even though, we're kids in high school, I mean, I'm interested in religion to a certain extent, but not to that extent. Right. And so I go into pro ball and I don't want anything to do with, religion whatsoever.
Yep.
And then, on the road and all that, they bring in a pastor on a Sunday, chapel, there. And every once in a while I would go, and then we'd be on the road and they have the Bible and all those hotel rooms that we would basically live in on the road in these buses. And I would always kind of find myself on occasion, call it 2-3 times a month, maybe, just sitting down with the Bible and reading maybe 1 or 2 verses. So there was a little bit of curiosity there, right? So fast forward to my addiction. I was drinking handles of liquor. I wasn't man enough to deal with a lawsuit from a movie I produced with Paul Walker, my now ex-wife, who we're extremely close now, but some issues with her and her extended family with mental illness, borderline personality disorder. So I started drinking, right? So I'm laying on my back. And the year before this, my best friend from grade school had passed away from alcohol. He just laid in bed. He kind of limped up the steps, laid in bed, took a deep breath, and never woke up. Wow. And I find myself a year later, on my back in my bed after drinking handles of liquor. And I was like unconsciously committing suicide, and I say this because I remember laying up in my bed, unable to walk. Shane, I was on my hands and knees crawling on my floor because if I stood up, I would have passed out.
Fell over.
Because I had been in this situation to self-detox, which is extremely dangerous. You never want to detox from alcohol because it will kill you. But I had done it unknowingly, right? So what I'm getting at is I laid up in my bed and I looked up in the corner of my room and I was in psychosis. I had all these imaginary friends. I didn't really know where I was. But then interestingly, because I'm now able to reflect back, and I've done a lot of work in the psychology world for myself with the help of psychologists to gain perspective here and get clear. I prayed to God, just give me one more day, give me one more day. I don't want to go out like Anthony. I just pray to God. So the next day I muster up enough energy to walk outside and I fall and I bust my head wide open. And then I'm in the hospital and I check myself out of the hospital and I'm catching Ubers still in psychosis after like 3 days of going in the hospital, going through these withdrawals. And I get an Uber and I'm so sick that I'm barefoot. I'm in hospital booties. And I get all these Ubers going to the wrong places because I can't tap into my phone because I can't see it. The numbers are jumping out at me. And the way God works in mysterious ways, in Uber, I'm in downtown Minneapolis in the middle of the night. And an Uber picks me up because these Ubers are dropping me off because I'm putting in the wrong addresses. So they're just leaving me throughout the city barefoot. And an Uber picks me up and it's this kind of religious, faith-based type music. And he takes me to the hotel and I end up going down to rehab. And that's where I found, my faith was kind of starting to be reborn in that very moment. And I view the Bible, I'm curious your thoughts too, because I view prayer as intentional thinking. I believe our thoughts are our prayers in an ongoing type of manner. Like you said, right? You're at the grocery store and your credit card goes through and it says, approved. Thank you. There's gratitude to that. And there's positivity. And then we speak about dopamine. That's that positive feedback loop. And without dopamine, there's no forward progress to anything. There was a study with rats where they sucked out the dopamine of the rat. And if they put the food right in front of the rat's mouth, it would eat a little bit. If they put the food 1 inch in front of the rat, it would die of starvation. That's how powerful dopamine is for us. So with that being said, when you were playing baseball's a unique sport in the fact that we have time on our hands and it's not as physically active as a basketball or a football type sport. And so we see a lot of substance abuse. So if we rewind the clock a little bit during your baseball days with greenies and cocaine and alcohol and the women and like the fast life that that industry presents to us athletes, did you drink or indulge in any of that when you were playing?
I drank a little bit, but it wasn't a lot. I mean, I might have bought a 6-pack at the store to keep in the fridge, to have a beer or two after a game, or have a beer or two with dinner. If I went on a bus trip, like a week-long bus trip, I cooked on the road every year. I mean, I cooked. I literally ended up in an ice chest my entire minor league career on the road. That little grill I took with me. I took pre-cooked food. I cooked after games. I throw a few beers in there. I'd have 1 or 2 between towns on the bus ride. So yeah, I drank some, not a lot. As far as uppers, well, I think I took greenies like twice. I just didn't like them. A lot of the guys on the team took them like Flintstones, like before every game, and they're popping their greenies and off they go. One of them ended up having a heart attack on the road. He was notorious. I can't remember the kid's name. He was notorious for taking a greenie like every day. He was the starting outfielder. And all of a sudden, one day his heart went crazy, like before the game. He looked at the EKG and said, "There you are." And he was, like, "All right, dude, what are you taking? Taking greens." I'd see those. I've never seen cocaine in my life. I saw it in 6th grade when the cops brought it in for a drug educational thing, but I don't know that it was. I think a lot of the stuff that was happening in the big leagues wasn't as prevalent in minor league ball because the guys, they got the resources for one. They ain't got the money, they got the connections, they got the people that are constantly after them. Like, you get to the big leagues and you're opened up to a whole nother world, man. I mean, you've got everybody wants a piece of you, everybody's there for you. I think it's a whole different lifestyle versus good old minor league baseball. So I was never involved in that. It was there, but I don't. The steroid era was going on. People were starting to lift weights regularly, whereas pitchers didn't lift. I always lifted. That's how I was able to throw hard. That was the big important part to me. But I didn't drink a lot. And my drinking then it literally consisted of a few beers here and there during the season. I drank more in the off season probably, but and I think most of the guys I played with were kind of like that. I mean, there were always 2 or 3 guys on every team that were just the night out. They were out every night. They drank, they partied. There were 2 or 3 guys I can remember that had full blown drinking problems. One of them was one of my roommates, my 4th year. But I'd never been around an alcoholic at that point in my life, and I was like, "What is wrong with this dude?" Well, he'd get up and he's pounding beers before the ball game. And I'm like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I forget what the answer was, but okay, he had a drinking problem. And to this day, he's still alive. He's battled issues his whole life, just addictions and whatnot. There's several guys I played ball with that were notorious drinkers. They're dead. They're just, they're dead. They died years ago. Livers gave out, had a heart attack. A couple of them were that I know that have passed away. Didn't really have problems in pro ball. They developed their problems after pro ball. I remember seeing on Facebook when they, so and so passed away. I'm like, really? What the heck? So I called the guy that knew him. Yeah, he got into drugs after ball, man. It's been a time for him. But I really for most of my pro career, I kept my head down. It took everything in me to give myself a chance to get where I wanted to go, which was the big leagues. So I never really had an issue with any of that during ball. It was I stayed pretty, well, not whistle clean, but I just didn't have a problem with it in ball. It was after ball is where I started getting into okay, life's gotten heavy. It's not just me I'm responsible for now. I got a wife, I got 3 kids, I got bills, I got this, I got that. I'm getting older. My mortality is obvious. And processing all those things, like, my God, this is heavy. I think I'll have a drink. And that's where it really started for me, becoming more of a part of my life. When I was younger, it was, I liked going out and having a good time with the guys, but it wasn't a big variable in my life. It was later. But there were guys that I saw that did have problems, and it affected their life then, and some of them are dead now because of it.
Yeah, because we don't have an identity, we're consumed by the game, and that's not exclusive to sports. I mean, when you look at any high performer, anybody who has success, which can be individually defined, I suppose, but we have a tendency, especially at a young age, to be defined by it. For us, it was baseball. And then how did you, what's your view on this right here? You stay a boy until you become responsible for somebody else. And that's your entry point into manhood. Do you share that view?
Yeah, I've never heard that, but yeah, that sounds pretty spot on to me. I mean,
well, because the adventure of life is accountability and responsibility. I mean, Jordan Peterson, who I follow, speaks to this a lot. And yeah, he's more of a philosopher, really. I mean, his ability to rip through the Bible is incredible. And it's the adventure of life, because we see the world through a lens of a story. And so that's really kept me going, with the intentional thoughts or our prayers and everything else. But when I got done with the game, I had to figure all that out for myself as well, because my drinking didn't take a hold of me until I had a family. I had 2 little babies and a home and, and everything else. And then when tyranny smacked me in the mouth, I wasn't ready for it. I had no idea, because I feel like especially athletes share the view, males, of I can do it. Keep the, gas pedal down. If you cry, you're weak. Sleep when you're dead. And that's not we're human, so we have to humanize the fact that, and you spoke to this earlier, is we all have issues in our life that we're dealing with, and we need somebody to talk to. And so what did you like when you were post baseball and you had the discipline, you had an upwards aim to get to the big leagues. So you had the restraint to not indulge in those vices, right? The drugs and alcohol, et cetera. But when the game ended, what were some steps you took to redefine yourself, and what career path and what did that say 5 years of your life look like after baseball?
Well, when I got done playing, and I finished my 7th season with the Orioles, and I was in Sarasota after that 7th season. I had a girlfriend down there, and I went down there when the season was over, and Orioles weren't going to re-sign me. They gave me a chance to Orioles, like nothing bad to say about them at all. Had an interest from a couple other teams, and I just didn't want to play ball anymore. I was mentally, I was tired of being broke. I was tired of being hurt. I was tired of being gone, on and on. And the Orioles were kind of like family. They treated me great. Spent my whole 7-year career there. So the thought of going somewhere else and playing wasn't appealing. The biggest factor was I had to come to reality that, okay, you're never going to stay healthy for a long period of time. You're going to continually be hurt somewhere. The days that you're not, you're on fire, but those days are so few and far between. So I just had to accept the fact that I wasn't going to make it up there. So I turned the page and moved on from that. But when I went home, within a couple of weeks, I'm trying to think here, October, November, about a month, I guess, my college roommate called me and offered me a job. And we'd stayed in touch over the years. They kept a good relationship, and he was doing well, and had a pretty wife and kids, and had a nice house, and he wasn't killing it, but he sure was doing a whole lot better than I was, and he was doing okay. And a couple other guys from our baseball team in college had gone to work for it, and so that opportunity opened itself up in great timing, and I went to work there. I worked there for 9 years, which is where I met my wife at. And after being there like 9 months, I got shipped out to Dallas for about a year, 13 months, longest 13 months of my life. That's where I really kind of started letting God into my life from a faith perspective, because I had nothing else to do. I had no money. I could go to the gym for $25 a month. I could go to the gym anytime I wanted to. I could go to church for free. I could go to the grocery store and buy food. And so really, I look at it now as the perspective. I think, God sent me to Texas to understand what lonely was, to have a year to basically sit with myself and sort through. When I went out there, everything was great, but when it quickly came off the rails, and it really primed me to come home and meet my wife, because if I hadn't been out there and spent the time I had out there, lonely, etc., then she probably wouldn't have meant as much to me as she did, because she was this stable figure that was just different than anybody ever dated. And we really were friends at first. I never would, when I first met her, but somebody told me, you're going to marry this woman, have 3 kids with her. I'm like, really? Just, she was pretty. I liked her, but just that was not even my mind. And so here we are later. But the 5 years after ball, I really took a normal progression. I went and got a job. It turned into a career. I met a girl. We ended up getting married down the road. We started a family and bought a house, got some pets. I mean, just a standard progression. And it wasn't till probably, I quit playing ball in 96, got married in 2001, 5 years later. About 3 years after that is when, I won't say my demons set in, but that's when the empty became noticeable. And it goes back to what you mentioned earlier about from Jordan Peterson. You need an adventure. A man's got to have an adventure. I mean, I think women are totally different. Some might need one. Most of them are pretty content to go have a family and raise kids. That's just how they're wired. We need a demon to slay. We need a mountain to climb. We need something in our life that, for lack of a better term, blows our skirt up. That just makes us, it's the equivalent of hanging your head out the window at 100 miles an hour. That we need that stuff. I do. I mean, some guys don't, but man, I do. I do. I need something that makes me go, holy shit, every now and then.
All men need that.
I mean, seriously. And, I can't live there because but I need that. And that's one thing, the reason I like ice baths. When I jumped in ice bath, pardon my French, but now I say, like, holy shit, that's cold. just for a second. And then you can, get your breathing down. Everything's good, but it's not everybody can do that. Very, very small percentage of the population can do that. And that's just one little piece of it. I think the more of those you can add to your life, the better off you are. But I lacked adventure. And that's the thing that I didn't realize literally until about a year ago, when listening to Peterson, he starts, listening to the guy talk. I'm like, okay, we share some commonality. He's clearly a brilliant man. I mean, his brain operates on a level mine doesn't. He's intelligent. He can process stuff. But the things he's been through is kind of like what we've been through. He needed adventure. So it went, then he tells people, if you're depressed, there's like three things, the five things you've got to have in life. And if you don't have at least three of them, they can't help you, which I think was a career path, friends. You can't have a substance abuse. I forget what the five are, but I don't have any of those. I mean, I've had all five of them.
You need a direction. One of them is a direction moving forward.
But it was five things. It's like, okay, well, I'm not that guy. So what's the problem here? But that really hit the nail on the head for me was I needed adventure. And I went from being the pro ball player with all the things you love and hate rolled into one to being a family guy. And there's lots of guys out there that are happy to just go punch a clock at work, come home, eat mama's cooking, watch TV, mow the grass, do it again tomorrow. I'm not that guy. And I tried to be that guy for a long time. And finally I realized I'm not that guy. I mean, these are my responsibilities. I got to do these things and I'm glad to do them, but I need something else in my life that torques me up a little bit. And so that's what I really started looking for. That's where the 1-6 project came from. I don't know if you saw that on my blog or not, but I was number 16. And so they call you by your number. If you're 24, 24. If you're 16, it's 1-6. And so before I ever told anybody about this over a decade ago, I kind of dubbed this thing to reclaim myself, the 1-6 project. And I was after trying to find something in life that gave me the same passion, same drive that I had in baseball, but in life. I couldn't find it. And I looked. And what I realized was I was basically trying to take everything the world had to offer and stick it in that big old spot inside of me called the God hole, the God spot, that nothing else fills up except God. So I started putting him in there. The adventure came back. But I looked for a long time before I finally understood that and realized that. So as a young man, my identity was in baseball. That was my identity. I didn't realize that when I moved on from baseball, I lost who I was. I had no idea that was how that worked until, you look back and you reflect back, okay, I lost who I was. And my identity became built on I was successful worldly. We made pretty good living and had all the outer dressings of success. Pay my bills, take a vacation, drove a nice car. Wasn't rich by any means, but I wasn't worried to pay my bills either. Well, God slowly dismantled that. I lost my second identity, which was success, which ushered in my third identity, which was an abject failure. And the fourth identity, the one I have now, I'm a child of God. I'm a saved man. Gave life to Christ. I've still got my rough edges. If you hang out with me long enough, you'll see them, and I'll apologize for them when they get out sometimes. But I'm a changed man. I'm a better version of who I was. But my identity today is built on Christ. I'm not interested in living in a castle. I don't care if I drive a brand new car. That's the greatest adventure I've ever been involved in. And that's why I like doing this stuff so much, building a platform, talking about life, talking about what I've done right and what I've done wrong, and how God's changed my life in all aspects, especially the pieces I've given him to work in. He does great things at them, because that's the greatest adventure that I've ever been involved in. And I could live to be 100 and it'll never change. Nothing in this world is ever going to be a greater adventure than a life of faith. It's not something.
I agree. And you're also helping a lot of people as well. So now in this new iteration of yourself, you're starting to post a lot more. You're starting to share your vulnerabilities and leaning into what it is that you're curious about. Explain that motivation, because you had said something to me earlier where you're gonna post and influence people positively with things that you like, and if somebody has an issue with it, then that's of their concern. They can stay on their side of the street. You're gonna do you.
Yeah, let them make fun of you. That's what I'm saying lately. Not that I really get that much. Occasionally somebody will throw a little shade at me or make a comment. But if you went back years ago, if somebody were to make some offhand comment on Facebook or send me a private message about, you said so-and-so, you call yourself a Christian, but X, Y, or Z, I'd be like, all right, and I'm firing back at them, man. Now I'm like, okay, next. I mean,
Yeah.
I might even not respond. Most of them don't even respond. I mean, one of my favorite, I wrote a story about this a while back. One of my favorite responses when somebody throws a little shade my way, okay. You say something else, whatever they say, okay. No matter what they come out with, okay. I don't care what you think. I mean, and people don't throw stuff at people that are doing things worse than they are. They throw stuff at people that are doing things better than they are. That's how it works. So my thought's kind of been the last few years. If I'm not getting some pushback every now and then I'm not in a big enough pot. I need a bigger pot.
There you go.
And,
there you go.
That's that. But man, I've got a genuine desire to help people. For one, I was younger. I thought witnessing meant running up to people and going, "Hey, do you know Jesus?" I mean, I wasn't fixing to. You couldn't have poured me on. You could have melted me and poured me into a witnessing situation back as a kid. But that's so far wrong from how it is. I mean, the greatest witness that I think you can do as a Christian, everybody's different. I mean, everybody has different strengths, and what's easy for me might be hard for others. But there's a lot of stuff that I might make look easy that's not. I just do it. Is let your life point back to Christ. And so I figured the more of my life I share with other people, I got my rough spots. I mean, as you've already seen from talking to me, but I try to work on those. But I don't want to lose credibility by doing something stupid. But the more of my life I can share with people that points back to Christ, the people that in the situation I was in 10 years ago, 12 years ago, that are desperately searching and trying to figure things out, and they want to give out a chance in their life, okay, that worked for him. Maybe I'll try that. And from a witness perspective, that's all God asks you to be is available. That's it. I think somebody to say yes. Whatever it is I'm doing, I need somebody to say yes, and I'll do the rest. And we don't save anybody. But we do give God access to our life. We become a conduit. We become the hands and feet that He works through. And I tell people often, man, you'd be amazed what God will do in you and through you if you'll give Him access to your life. And the more you do that, and the more you go back to that fourth point I made, circumstances, the more you see Him at work in the circumstances of your life, the more you go, wow, how do I get Him more of that? How do I get Him bigger access? And that's just how it works. Which is another saying of mine. That's how it works.
Yeah. Well, the Bible's full of stories that the Bible's the only book that's stronger than stone. It's stronger than anything else that is man-made. And when you take the stories, not the religion component, where the name, the title, right? I'm Catholic or I'm Protestant or
like
Jewish.
Flavor.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need that. The Bible is full of stories that if you follow those stories, like I'm doing now, like you have been, you are on the right path, and you set an upwards aim for yourself and you go for that thing.
Well, you see
good things are going to happen.
You see yourself in the stories. And that's one of the things that when I've had a chance to speak to people, I've often used this one, and I think you and I talked about this. Moses and the Egyptian army in the Red Sea. He's got the Israelites out of Egypt. They're heading for the Promised Land. They get to the Red Sea. Can't go across the Red Sea because it's in front of them. Then behind them is the Egyptian army coming over the hill. They're fixing to be slaughtered. They're all going to die. And that's what for all practical purposes, that's a normal human summation. We're about to get slaughtered by the Egyptians. Well, what's God do? He parts the Red Sea, and they walk across on dry land. He closes the Red Sea on top of them. Problem solved. That's a biblical story, but if you're standing in your life and you can't pay your mortgage and your fridge is empty and your car won't crank and you just lost your job and you got a family, it's kind of like being between the Red Sea and the Egyptians. I mean, it's a similar feeling. And I've had some pretty scary moments in my life. I'm like, how in the world are we ever going to get through this piece of our life? But God made a way. I mean, I'll spare the details, but some of them I really want to share. That's just this people. It's just I'll share them one day, but it's just the things God has done to make a way in my life when things look hopeless is just if you can't look at that and believe that God is real, I can't help you. I mean, that's what and I've told lots of people one-on-one stories about things that have happened to me and things that where God's worked in my life. And I've had so many people look at me and go, seriously? I'm like, yeah, like, you're not making, no, I'm not making any of this stuff. I'm dead serious. And I've had numerous people that I look at that are Christian people that have said, I've never had anything like that happen to me. I'm like, really? They're like, no, man, I've had like, stuff that I know God's at work in my life, but some of the stuff you've told me that he's done, orchestrated, that's amazing. I'm like, yeah, it really is. So I look at that now, maybe that's the level of depth I needed convincing to get me where I'm at. Like, all right, I got to do something pretty strong for Shane here, because he is who I made him, but I gotta reach deep in my trick bag to make this guy believe to get out there and do the stuff I want him to do. So yeah, I'll do some amazing work in your life. But Mother Teresa, I remember reading about her one time, and they were talking about people hearing from God or feeling God's presence. There's been times I felt like God's right beside me. There's been times I felt like he's a million miles away. And I used to think of something I did. What have I done? Do a little self-evaluating. Am I thinking the wrong things, doing the wrong things? What have I done to drive, to quench the spirit of my life? And I think as time has gone by, what I've learned to understand, at least for me, is that God will pull back sometimes from your life. He's working with you, and we're doing great. I'm going to pull back a little bit. I need you to do what you're supposed to do, whether you feel me or not. That's called faith. And I equate that to like when you got your pitching coach. You're in a big game. Pitching coach comes out and talks to you. He goes, okay, Eric, I'm going to stand behind the mound now while you throw the next few pitches. He's going back to the dugout. You're out there by yourself. He can't stand there with you and help you. That's kind of an analogy that helps me. It's kind of the same thing. Like, I'm going to go back to the dugout for a while and do your thing, boy. So,
yeah.
Or don't. It's up to you. But you got a choice to make here. And so even when I do feel God's presence kind of pull away from me, sometimes I'll stop and think, okay, what are you doing? Are you not believing? Are you not communicating? Are you not pursuing? Are you succumbing to your fears? Is the enemy having his way with you? Or is it just God pushing me out there to do that? But the thing Mother Teresa said was, somebody made the comment to her about hearing from God or feeling God's presence. And she made the comment, she said, I have not felt his presence for years. But she kept doing what she's supposed to do. She kept being Mother Teresa. Even though he was here or felt like he was down there, she didn't let that influence how she lived her life or how she pursued her faith. She went out and did what she had been told to do and let the chips fall where they would. It wasn't like, okay, well, I don't feel God, so I can't do this thing. I can't do these big things today.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, everything you say really sticks me right in the gut. I can feel that in my bloodstream. And the word that I had to get comfortable with is surrendering, right? Letting go of my ego and my pride and thinking that I can do it all. And what a lot of people think about prayer is, well, I pray to God and nothing happens. What's your view on prayer and taking action? Are those rooted together, or what's your view on the prayer component without action? And then what does God call us to action all the time?
I think God calls us to faith. I think he wants faith. He wants us to believe in him, regardless of what's going on around us, to believe in him and believe he's got a path and a plan for us. We got to do our part. We can't just sit here, I'm just waiting on the Lord. Well, the Lord might be waiting on you to go out and read a book about your industry or learn how to do a better podcast or learn about diets. You lose 20 pounds. They kind of go together. I think prayers are pretty interesting topics. I think some people are different. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, look, man, if you want somebody praying for you, go find somebody besides me. I'm not a prayer warrior. I mean, some of these people that say these long, eloquent prayers, and I'm like, that's great, but that's just not me. I was raised Baptist, so I joke that if you're raised Baptist, two things going to happen when you leave the Baptist church, whether you stick with them or move on. You're going to know your Bible, and you're going to have to pray in front of people. That's just part of the deal. If you're raised Baptist, which I wouldn't change my Baptist upbringing for anything. I'm Episcopalian now. I married a non-convertible Episcopalian, married her, and got confirmed, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago, the Episcopal Church. I think it's a great combination of the denominations. But I think people pray differently, and sometimes I'll get asked to pray at our office meetings or whatever. And, my prayers are often like a conversation. Lord, thank you for these people that I work with. Thank you for this amazing office. I thank you for loving all of us in spite of who we are. You know what we're dealing with. Help us deal with it. Help us incorporate you into our life. Things like that. It's not some Lord. I just talk. And that's me. But I've learned to, if I lay down at night and try to say my prayers while I'm in bed, I'll be asleep 30 seconds. Or I'm praying 1 minute, and next minute I'm worried about the laundry or the football game I saw. It takes off. So I try and just do more praying throughout my day. Just as going into a meeting, Lord, help me get the right words. Help me. I think that's the biggest, I know I'm kind of rambling here, but I think that's the biggest phrase, the most powerful phrase we can say in life or in prayer, those two words, help me. And sometimes it's casual, Lord, help me this, help me that. There's other times I've sincerely from the bottom of my heart, Lord, please help me. Help me with this, help me with that. Like I mentioned to you, I joke about it sometimes. I can't hardly organize my sock drawer. I mean, let alone a life. Help me get this, help me get that. I'm forever cleaning up messes that I don't intentionally make, but they just happen because of my, the way I'm wired. I mean, it's like I need somebody to walk around behind me cleaning the messes up sometimes. And people think I'm the most organized person in the world. Well, you're so organized. I'm like, really? Come home with me. Come on.
Well,
it's around for a week.
Yeah.
So, but I guess get back to your question about prayer. I think everybody's different from a prayer perspective. I think we pray differently. Just like our relationships are different. I think people's relationship with God is different. Yours is different than mine. Mine's different than the next guy down the street. And I think we kind of pray according to who we are and how that relationship is. My relationship with God, while it's a reverent relationship, it's also pretty casual. God, I've accepted the fact a while back. God made me who I am. The stuff I don't like about myself sometimes is a result of my ADD active mind, but also the stuff you see on Facebook and all the stuff that I do and the platform God uses to use me is a result of my ADD mind. So you get one or the other. So I kind of pray according to how my personality is. But I think the biggest thing God wants from us is faith. And it's faith in Him, not ourselves, and just believing that, He's got a plan and a path. And 2 days ago, I've got this big sewer issue in my house. It had the potential to be a really big, expensive problem. And I was in a knot, man. I went to bed in a knot. I woke up in a knot. Like, if this or this happens, what are we going to do? And that morning, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to sweat it. God's got it worked out one way or the other. There's nothing I can do to change what's going on in those pipes down there. And by the end of the day, it was fixed and everything's working. So did my faith fix it? No, no, it didn't hurt. But
yeah, right.
Just have faith. Just have faith that God's at work and God's got a plan for your life. And, as I also say, do your part. But, pray according to your personality. Carry on a conversation with God. That's the most productive prayer to me, is a conversation, and go live faithfully.
Yeah. And when you said, help me, when our brain, when we verbalize our issues, think about being in the car by yourself and you're driving to the grocery store or to pick your kid up from school and wait in that line. You have time on your hands and you're alone. How we think about ourselves, right? That goes back to how I view prayer as our thought, is our internal dialogue. And when you said, help me, that's vulnerability. That's bringing our thoughts. When you verbalize it, that's half of, so these psychologists indicate that once you've verbalized anything in your world, it becomes half solved.
That makes sense.
Because we're bringing it to the front of our brain. We're bringing it metaphorically, like right in front of our face, even though we can't see it, right? Because we verbalized that help me, which helps create awareness, which helps us become a problem solver within our own lives. The other thing you said that really stuck with me that I want to know a little bit more about is, and I had to write this down here, but you said, you asked God, or God told you, He said, go fix your life. And once you fix it, go show people how you did it.
Let them watch you.
Let them watch you. Yeah.
Let them watch you. Go fix your life. Let them watch you, and then tell them how you did it.
Yeah. So you're doing this right now all over social media, and you are gaining a lot of followers because of this. So walk us through this. Where can people find you? What's your mission from today moving forward? What does it look like?
Well, the mission is, I'd love to be able to do this full time one day. That's down the road to a stretch, obviously. But my mission today is, let me think about this for a second. How do you articulate it? I got an elevator speech down. But to back up a step on the fix your life, let people watch you it goes back to a decade ago which was about the time I finally gave my life to Christ. It was about 10 years ago. I got baptized, I think 7 or 8 years ago, but I was on board prior to that. I just felt led to get baptized again. But it was, it kind of just came to me one day. I'm trying to, I say, fix my life. Basically, I'm trying to, I have another saying, the things you want to do, be, or become in life. I want to do these things. I want to be this person. I want to become this person, or become. It kind of encapsulates everything about you. Because what are you trying to do, be, or become? I'm good just like I am. Well, whoever says that? I mean, some people are. They don't think past it. They just consume what's in front of them. They amble through their day. There's not that you got to have a grand plan in life, but I mean, it's just, it's kind of like a ship with no rudder. And I knew if I wanted to get back to where I was from an adventure perspective, I don't want to live in, I'm trying to think how to say this. I don't want to live a normal average life. When I played baseball, I didn't want a uniform to be on the bench. I wanted the ball. As simple as that. I didn't, and my actions off the field supported that statement. I wanted the ball. I didn't want to be on the team. I don't want to be the rah-rah guy. I wanted to be the guy that had the ball when the game's on the line. When we're playing on Saturday night against the number one team in the country in college baseball and the stands are full, I want the ball. I want to be the guy on the mound, please. And I did the things to give me the chance of doing that. And I look at life a lot along the same way. When I left baseball, kind of go back to one of the points you made, how'd you transition? Well, I thought I'd just leave baseball and just go do the things I saw all my friends doing that looked appealing. Get married, have kids, buy a house, get some pets, get a job, just lead a normal life. Well, a normal life bores me to tears. I have no interest in bobbing around a boat all afternoon drinking beer. I'm not saying you can't. I have no interest in it. Just like you have no interest in getting an ice bath at 6 o'clock in the morning, or eating whole foods, or not drinking, or whatever. I mean, it goes down to what you want out of life. And God, it's lost my entire train of thought. We're talking about well, done that once this whole podcast.
No, we were talking about what led you into that frame of mind. God talking to you about.
I told you this would happen. I told you it's going to happen. But between the time I left ball and struggled for well over a decade, what I call the lost decade, that's what I call it, the lost decade of my life. I accomplished nothing in 10 years, except to end up 10 years later thinking you're an abject failure with everything you work kind of stripped away from you. And that's where I realized, okay, I want the passion I had in baseball, which was adventure. I wanted the passion towards life. So go fix your life and try and build the life you want, because you thought you wanted what everybody else wanted. The house, the kid, the dog, whatever. You don't. You want to be different. You want to go out. You want to be in shape. You want to be useful. You want to help people. I'm not trying to say here. You want to, normal is not interesting to me. And so go build the life you want to build. Undo the things that you've gotten yourself into that you really are not on fire about. Go build a career that you do want to do, which is helping people, motivate people. Go get yourself in shape. Lose that 30 pounds that you've added. Stop doing the things that undermine you physically and mentally. Go build all that stuff you want to do. Let people see you do it, and then turn around and help them do it themselves. And that was kind of, it was somewhat of an epiphany. That's a pretty vulnerable spot. You got to admit that you're messed up. You got to go out and do stuff and let people watch you fail, and then have the audacity to tell people that are watching you, yeah, I'm going to do all this stuff, and then I'm going to write books and do videos. I'm going to help people help themselves. That's what I'm going to do. Really? That's the same daggum conversation that I had when I was a kid, when I told people I was going to play professional baseball from a town that had not had a professional baseball player in 30 years. Same thing. I got laughed at.
Yeah, people thought you were crazy, unrealistic. Don't be unrealistic.
You like
stand in line with everybody else.
Yeah, which goes back to the point I made earlier. Let them make fun of you. I mean, honestly, if somebody's not making fun of you for something you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, the safest thing to do in the whole world is worry about somebody laughing at you. I mean, people laugh at me my whole life, and that's kind of been the progression. Was all the stuff that happened to me when I was younger that I was able to do is a great example for me. It's okay, go do it again. go, you got to have an adventure, son. You got to have an adventure. If you don't, you are going to die. And
Yes.
that's the road I was headed down. I was here, but I was an absolute empty shell of a man. And, I used to look at people that like, okay, well, somebody gets to the point where you hear about people committing suicide. How do you get there? Well, they say the same thing about people that had drinking problems. How do you get there? How do you let that happen in your life? And lo and behold, at 50 years old, look up and go, don't stop doing this. I could have a problem one day. And you look at it from a life perspective. I mean, my mom's, she's forever worried about me. Shane, you okay? You okay? I mean, I got a wonderful mother. And finally, about a year ago, I was like, no, Mom, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. She's like, well, what's wrong? I'm like, everything and nothing at the same time.
Yeah.
I got a wonderful wife. I got kids. I got a house. I got a job. I got my health. Nothing is wrong there. But everything is also wrong at the same time inside of me. And that by itself was just liberating. And I'll go into work some days. My broker Annette, she's the sweetest thing she can be. Hey, Shane, how are we today? I'm good. Great. And just some days, Shane, how are we doing today? Not all right today. Okay, I'll pray for you. I think just being able to admit that I'm having a tough time. That takes a little bit of pressure off of you right there. Just being able to say, no, I'm not okay today. I'll be better tomorrow, or I won't be. But I'm not quitting. But I realized, I kind of got off track there. How I'll never have a drinking problem. How do people let that happen to them to the point of, okay, if I keep going down this road, I could end up having a drinking problem. But look at it from a life perspective. How do people ever get to the point in life where they kill themselves? I mean, how does that happen? But I look at where I've been over the last 10, 15 years and how much, how to say this properly. The line in John Cougar's got a song, John Cougar Mellencamp, Jack and Diane, long after the thrill of living is gone. And it's like, that's kind of spot on because there's so little stuff in this world. Let me think about this, get it right. There are so few things in this world that move my needle anymore. And I wrote about it yesterday on Facebook. And the point of my message was, one thing I said was, not much moves my needle. Oprah could call me up and say, I want a new car. Great. Aliens could land in my driveway. Great. Whatever. I mean, it doesn't move my needle. Nothing really excites me like it used to. It should. That's a problem. So I see where if you don't stop and address the nothingness in life, the fact that you don't have an adventure, the fact that you battle these demons constantly and work admirably to pull yourself in the direction you need to go, then I see how people can end up there. I'm not saying I'm there at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I understand how people can get there if they keep going down that road in life to where they get to the end of the road. There's just nothing. There's no reason to be here. Okay. Before that happens, stop and do something about it. Do whatever it is that you need to do to fix yourself, to fill in the blanks that work for you. They ain't got to work for everybody else, but just whatever it is that gives you adventure in life. It could be building birdhouses, volunteering at the local, I don't know, anything. Just find something you enjoy doing and go do it. And for me, it's the stuff that I post on Facebook. Keep my body in check from eating a good diet. Share my faith. I'm in church every Sunday, not because it has to be. I want to be. I really and truly want to be there. And that's what's worked for me.
The adventure of life.
One time, I don't know if that made sense or not.
No, it does. Yeah, and where I rediscovered my adventure is post recovery. Is leaning into my curiosities, right? So if we need motivation, if we need to take that first step and we feel ourselves, that frustration, that burn in our chest, the procrastination to change, to take action, pick a few things that you're curious about that are educational in nature that you want to learn more about.
The food industry, for one, the food industry is really interesting to me. There's three things that are killing people in our food. The first one is refined grains, which is everything that comes in a box. You take any kind of grain, it's refined. Second thing is seed oils. Third thing is sugar, called the trifecta of obesity. And those three things are in every food you eat that tastes good. Like if you eat a donut, all a donut is seed oil, sugar, and grains that have had all the nutrients stripped out. They're great. I love donuts. I'm not saying I don't eat donuts, but that's the destruction that our food industry is today. That's really interesting to me. Not just educating yourself on, okay, we just don't eat sugar. Well, okay, here's what happens when you eat sugar. Here's what happens when you digest seed oils. Here's what happens when you eat refined grain. Here's what happens when you drink alcohol. And I think alcohol gets a bad rap for it's people are catching on alcohol's a carcinogen. We've known that forever. It's not good for you.
Well, right now and right now, did you see that the FDA is considering putting the cancer labels on it?
But the thing about this though, and I agree, and I think definitely 1 or 2 drinks a week's going to kill you. No, but it's not going to help you either, in my opinion. I think the closest you can come to zero is your best bet for alcohol, just purely from a health perspective. But if you look back at our parents' generation, before processed food showed up, how many moms and dads? The smoking's always been pretty bad. How many moms and dads, drank, but they worked outside and they ate food they cooked in their kitchen, and their life required them to get some exercise. They didn't work in a cubicle under fluorescent light, and they lived a long time. So, our people are tend to be getting all these chronic illnesses, including cancer, more so by far. It's even prevalent in kids. Well, kids aren't drinking. They're eating that crap food, though. Right. So I think if you had to pick between, I'm going to have one person that doesn't drink at all, but he just eats the standard American diet. Or I've got one person that drinks moderately, but eats a healthy diet and a little bit of processed food. I think that guy's going to live longer. I think the processed food is that toxic. You don't blame it.
Well, it is. I mean, no, it's not the alcohol. I mean, provided you don't have a problem. But I think one of the biggest crimes in American history is that food pyramid. It was created. Yeah, it was created in Sweden, I believe, in 1972-ish, and then the USDA implemented it into our system in 1992. And it is, to your point, that all those grains, I think that could be because look at the obesity levels and everything else. And I know that you touch on, I mean, you're gaining so many followers on Facebook, and you post about authentically you. But you post quite a bit on food, and people love it. It's inspirational because you know what you're talking about.
They don't know, and I thought I knew I've always been pretty in tune with my health, but it wasn't until I got to be probably 40, upper 30s. I'm like, my pants don't fit anymore. I can't get my jeans buttoned. I'm not doing anything different. I'm basically eating the same stuff. Well, I was eating more processed food. It was still what I'm always eating better than most everybody else around me by far. But I was eating more processed food. But I started trying to eat the food pyramid. I started trying to eat the way they told me. So I started gaining a little bit of weight. Of course, your metabolism slows down. You slow down. We're not running 90 miles an hour. So we're not moving as much or as fast. So I started eating like they said I was supposed to eat. Eat lots of grain. Even when I started eating whole foods, I still had this kind of puffy look. Like I said, I had the skin tags under my arms, little nasty skin tags. And it wasn't until about 5-6 years ago that I started eating red meat and eggs and whatnot, and my hair got thicker, and my nails got thicker, and my skin looked more healthy, and the skin tags under my arms went away by cutting out carbs. And I didn't know what seed oil. I never even heard of seed. I was 50 years old. I'd never heard of seed oils. Oh, it's vegetable oil. Oh, it's vegetable oil. It must be good for me. It's vegetable. No, that's a marketing ploy. That's to make you think it's good for you. But industrialized seed oils are literally the most toxic things you can put in your body, and they are in everything. Everything. It comes in a box or a bag. It's just soybean oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, corn oil. The only oil that's really good for you is olive oil. Is good. Avocado is good. Palm oil to an extent. That's a hole in the rabbit hole. But it's just I was not even aware of what all was so bad for us. And that's what really has enlightened me. It's like, okay, we shouldn't eat X, Y, and Z. That's fine. Digest that. Don't eat those things. But if you really want to start turning your diet around, start understanding what those things do to you. And that makes it easier not to eat them. That's been my perspective. That's what's really helped me. Okay, I shouldn't eat these things because they're bad for me. Okay, but what do they do to your body? Well, these oxidation gets into your arterial walls. When it gets into your arterial walls, it doesn't come out. It stays there. Well, as a result of it, over time, your arteries get stiff and less pliable. Well, they can't expand. What happens to your blood pressure? Your blood pressure goes up. So, just things like that is what's really interesting to me. I went to the doctor, and they did a blood panel 4 or 5 years ago, and my cholesterol was like, I don't know, 150 or something, just high enough that got their attention. Well, what do they want to do? Put me on a statin. So, okay. So, got my stat prescription. Started taking statins. And in the course of like a month, I gained like 12 pounds. I couldn't sleep at night because my legs hurt. I started reading about statins. I'm like, this is friggin' poison. And then I started reading about cholesterol. Well, they focus on that one number. You're told, I'm not a doctor, so take it with a grain of salt. Anybody watching this, I'm not a doctor. I'm not stupid either. And the total number is what they focus on. What's the total number made up of? Your HDL number, your LDL number, your triglycerides. We'll talk about triglycerides. But it's your total cholesterol. I'm drawing a blank. There's like 3 components to it. Well, my HDL was half what it should have been. My LDL was in line, for the most part. My triglycerides, which is a measure of your body's ability to process sugar, were like 500. They should be less than 100.
Huh.
My HDL to triglyceride ratio was 13.2. Anything over 2 puts you at a risk for heart attack. I was 13.2. They never said a word. They never said a word about it. All they said was your total numbers. Take these statins. Come back in 6 months. That's all they said. Yeah. And so, man, now listen. If I'm sick, like your kid was strep, I want my kid's doctor. If I'm in a car wreck, give me a doctor. When it comes to chronic illnesses, you're down the list, buddy. I want somebody that understands food and exercise, because y'all are just pushing pills. You're not pushing lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started eating meat, eggs, etc. Everything I was supposed to eat. Within like 3 or 4 months, my triglycerides went from 500 to 97, 98. My HDL doubled, which is your good cholesterol. My LDL went up considerably, but my testosterone went from like 310 to 420, which still ain't great, but I mean, it went up by 30% 30%.
Yeah.
All because I'm eating non-processed, and I'm not eating grains. I'm eating animal products, high protein, moderate fat, virtually no carbs. And my health turned around immediately. I could look at my thumb, and there was a divot in my thumb where my nail bed was higher, where it was growing out. It was higher. I noticed it about a month in. I was rubbing my finger one day, and they're like, it was more pronounced than my thumbs. But every nail in my hand had a thicker nail bed.
Huh.
Because I was eating a high protein, high fat diet. I was eating virtually no fat. Like, I'd cut the skin off a chicken. And you give me a ribeye today, I eat the whole thing. Fat and all. Just, well, you're going to die, Shane. Well, maybe, but I'm doing pretty good. I mean,
yeah, my
cholesterol's come down some over time. And again, people freak out about cholesterol. I'm just not scared of it. And my theory is this: let me get my words right. Throughout humanity, God's given us food to eat, right? I mean, He's given us, you can grow, what you can harvest out of the woods, what you can catch out of the water, what seasonal fruit shows up. So if you're telling me that all that stuff's going to kill me, then you're telling me that God has given people subpar nutrition and subpar food to eat until we showed up in the last 100 years to change it. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Right.
Whatsoever. I mean, I don't believe that for a second. So, you can say what you want to say, but just that does not make any sense to me whatsoever, that God gave us subpar food to eat for the throughout the entirety of humanity until we showed up in the last 100 years, learned how to alter it.
Right. And run it through a machine.
Yeah. I mean, I get adding shelf life. I get logistics. I get, the food chain, food supply, but the people I grew up with back home, I mean, we all ate what mama cooked. Or, if we wanted a snack, there might be a box full of Debbie's in the cabinet. There might be a box of cereal, but it wasn't a staple that we ate every day, 3 times a day. There wasn't crap on the bar. She might make some cookies every now and then, but I mean, it was.
Yeah, you're not eating the Fruit Loops for breakfast either.
No, I love cereal. I quit eating cereal years ago, but I think the less carbs you eat, by and large, the better off you are.
Yeah, agreed.
70, no processed food, and basically no carbs. I mean, I've had no grain. I've had no processed food, but I've had specifically no refined, no grains at all. No bread, what's a grain? No quinoa, no grain, no rice.
Rice, yeah.
None of that. But no grains, no seed oils, and no added sugar. I've eaten.
And how are you feeling?
Feel great. Feel good.
Yeah.
Feel good.
You're doing a lot of, and you've been down how much?
I went like 208 this morning, and I was about 218 when I started which was about Halloween.
Yeah, and you're probably sleeping better. Your mental clarity.
Yeah, mental clarity is great. That's
Yeah.
like that's not everybody can do that. It sounds kind of you do that for a year. Like, yeah, I'm gonna do it for a year. And I go back to these 30 days. People do 30-day things all the time. Like people are doing whole 30 right now. New Year. So, a lot of ladies in my office do the whole 30. We eat whole food for 30 days. One thing that's great. Okay, don't drink 30 days. Go to the gym 30 days. Whatever your 30-day thing is. I've done more 30-day things than I can count.
But those are finite, right? I mean, do you find once the 30 days is up, it's like, now what?
That's what I was about to say. All that does, it does two things for you. One, it shows you that with some discipline, some self-control, that you can do it. So pat yourself on the back. Whatever physical or mental aspects or results of it you get, then I'll put my computer in. That gives you a snapshot, a glimpse into what you could be if you would just keep going. But they don't. They stop. And with a short order, what happens? You go right back where you were. So what's the point of doing it all? You're just wasting time. No, you're not wasting time because you have an idea what you could be if you kept going. So my thought was, okay, 30. I just quit drinking after Halloween of last year. Like, all right, no more drinking, no processed food. I didn't know for how long, a week, 2 weeks, whatever. Well, that turned into a few days, and then I was like, all right, let's go for a month. Then I'll get through Thanksgiving, and I'll enjoy Christmas. And then I was like, let's just keep going. And then that turned into, once you do it for a year. And so went to the hunting camp, get to the hunting camp, and I'm up there by myself. Kids come up the next day. And it's not our camp. It's family land, family camp. They got a just beautiful place we all stay up there. But it's a little cabin we stay at, me and the boys do. The other hunters rent it throughout the year. And so I get to the cabin, I sit down, about 8 o'clock at night, I'm finally unpacked, tired, been going all day. And I sit back in my chair at the table, and looking right by the door is a shelf, a liquor shelf. And there's 3 bottles of bourbon up there, 2 bottles of Woodford and a bottle of Basil Hayden's Toasted. And 2 of them are open, and they're almost full. And I'm like, man, that would be so good right now. That guy wouldn't care if I had to drink his whiskey. I wouldn't care if you had to drink of mine. No big deal. And I sat there and wrestled with it. I came this close for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it. No, every reason in the world. Man, it's Thanksgiving. Enjoy yourself. All valid reasons.
Yeah.
Like, Shane, if you do this, you're making a deal for yourself again. And you'll come back home, and then it'll be something else next week. And so I didn't do it. And that moment when I put it to rest and moved on, I was good for the year. I'm like, I got this under control. And through Christmas, I didn't have a cookie. I didn't lick the ice cream off my fingers when I was serving up ice cream after lunch.
Oh, look at you. Well, like Jordan Peterson's book, it's like, we who wrestle with God, it's like when you make choices like that, if you were to have those drinks, you're wrestling with the devil.
Yeah. The thing of this, what are the odds of God putting me in that situation? I'm going to put you up in the hunting camp by yourself, Shane. I'm going to put 3 bottles of bourbon by the door, 2 of which are yours.
Yeah, and it's right here.
It's open, and nobody's there. Nobody would know. I'm not going to love you any less if you do, but it's your decision, son. You can partake, or you can go down this goal that you feel led to do. Because the other thing is, Eric, I've had the thought or the position for a while that if I want to do and accomplish the things I want to do, as far as helping people, stepping into my faith, being vulnerable, being used by God, do what he sent me here to do, I can't be like everybody else. I'm not saying I'm better. That's not the point at all. But I can't go and do what everybody else is doing every day if I want to have the credibility for people to listen to me. And that goes back to my point I said a while ago about taking the pills. Like, holy shit, I feel better. I shouldn't have said that. I just lost credibility by saying that earlier. Well, I regret saying it. But it's like, okay, Shane, don't do that next time. And it's, just watch your mouth. Well, just watch it. Keep your thought inside your head. But that was a good analogy of, for that moment, explaining that moment. That's really how it felt. But I felt like that's, if you want to do these things, if you want to go to the next level, we've been doing this 10 years, Shane, 10 years. And you see me at work in it? Yep, I see you working, Lord. You enjoy doing it? Yep, enjoy doing it, Lord. If you got some passion like you're looking for, sure do. Okay, then we got to do this thing. We got to level up, and we got to be this person. You can't be the person you were. I need a better version. Fair enough? All right. That's kind of where I'm at.
It's so inspirational because you're so full of wisdom through your education, research, your curiosities, and then your lived experiences. That's a separator, because you're doing what you want to do. You're doing it your way, and you're inspiring others along the way. And I think that the results of the good work you're putting in, you're seeing. I mean, you're getting the traction you're gaining of followers is for a really good reason. I'm so inspired by you because I went through a hard time, and I'm no different than anyone else. And I was scraping and I was clawing just to have some sort of light to hold on to, to stay alive. And it's people like you, it's people like Jordan Peterson, it's other influencers across various different disciplines on social media. And then you read them in the book, and, um, and then there's people like you that are building your side of the bridge, cleaning your side of the street. And it's so encouraging because I think males need it more than ever now, with social media, especially because we're going down rabbit holes. These men, young and old, are going down rabbit holes, becoming nihilistic, basement dwellers in a way. And there's so much more to life. There's that adventure, and I think the world's a better place because you're sharing it out there, and there's all that vulnerability attached to it. And so your main platform, I know you're doing a lot of writing too, so people can find you. You're writing on
Facebook's my primary platform right now, which doesn't need to be the case. I'm working on getting a YouTube channel started. I need to hit all the social platforms, but for today, right now, it's Facebook. It's Shane Hale, just plain old Shane Hale. It's got a picture of me. You can see that, but I think my profile picture's got a picture of me in a baseball jersey with my name on the back. I'm speaking to a group. But for right now, it's go to my Facebook page. But I've got a website. I've got ShaneHale.com. I've had that URL for years. I've got from nose to toes.com. I've had that one for years. A whole other story. Can't tell you now. I got time for it. But there's more stuff coming. So for now, if people follow me on Facebook, then I'll announce all that stuff as it starts coming out.
Yeah, sounds good. And then I'll drop everything. I'll drop all your information down in the description too, so people can find you. So, brother Shane, it's been so fun having this conversation with you. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Appreciate you having me. And if you ever want to talk about anything else again, man, just hit me up. We'll chop it up.
Yeah, yes, we will. And we will. So, all right. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you for watching. And until next time.
See you, buddy.
See you. Take care.